call is a split call. Andrew Bailey, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What great times we live in. But, Mr. Speaker, this is a very good budget, but it's an absolute travesty that few people actually recognise the situation that New Zealand is in at the moment. And it's actually despicable how some people misrepresent the situation we're in at the moment. Most finance ministers around the world would give their eye teeth to be in the situation where New Zealand is at the moment. Absolute eye teeth. We've got average growth rate of about 2.8% over the next 3 years that is forecast by Treasury. We've created 200,000 new jobs over the last 3 years, and another 170,000 are expected to come to fruition over the next few years until 2020. We've got rising surpluses. We're going to achieve a massive $6.7 billion in a few years' time, which I know most opposition parties are dying to spend. We're reducing debt back to 20% by 2021, which of course puts us in a situation where we can deal with any downturns that may happen in the future. It's prudent, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to see increasing wages, and as we've already seen over the past few years. And this budget is massive in the context of today. 1.4 million in increased capital spending and an increase of 1.6 of operational spend. It is a big budget. It's a big budget directed at the right areas. And it also means that the government is focusing on delivering better public services and getting our public spending under control. And even that bogeyman around the current account deficit, the projections look like we're well within reasonable levels, which is where we should be as a country. But all I hear from the opposition, Mr. Speaker, is squealing. Squealing, Mr. Speaker. And what I don't hear from the opposition is the connection between, if you have good, strong economic times, you have the ability to raise money and to spend money. And you can't spend what you don't have unless you're an opposition party. We're in government. We can only spend what we have, and we've got to be prudent about it. And this budget follows last year's budget, where we invested $790 million on the vulnerable people that the previous speaker was talking about. But everyone seems to have a very short-term memory when I look across the other side of these benches. So let's look at the highlights, Mr. Speaker. The first one, I think, and this is the one that got very little media coverage, and I don't know why. It's the $761 million that we're putting into creating an even more innovative New Zealand economy. We've got putting in the $411 million into the science and innovation, which this minister, just arriving, is doing a fantastic job, helping us to get to our target of $1.6 billion invested in science by 2020. The $257 million we're putting into tertiary education, and in my view, just as importantly, the apprenticeship schemes. And most New Zealanders do not realise the level of apprenticeship schemes in New Zealand. We're already putting through 42,000 apprenticeship people through every year, and this is going to increase it up to just under 50,000. And then, of course, the regional development, and all my colleagues, if I look around, not only on this side of the House, but on the other side of the House are going to benefit from. Then we've got the big investment in education. You know, the $884 million that's going to go in, most of it into schools, building new schools right across the country. The $42 million into helping children with higher needs. And of course, everyone believes that we should be doing that. And here we've got a budget that has allocated money to that. And the nearly $400 million package into early childhood education, getting us towards that target of 98%. We're just about there now, but we're forecasting and meeting the future needs of increasing students coming through. Health, that staggering package of $2.2 billion. And in the areas that I think are really relevant, environment, I've just heard the previous speakers say we're not doing enough. Well, I think we are. I think the ETS change, removing the 2-for-1 subsidy on the ETS trading scheme, is a very prudent, practical measure in today's economy. The $100 million invested in cleaning up waterways, the $21 million for targeted pest control, and the $16 million for plant species eradication. Mr. Speaker, I think this is a very prudent and sound budget.